Maybe I hadn't recovered the jewels, but I had caught this clown splitting town, and this in itself was a job well done. This low-class conman had obviously used Bernice and then robbed her. Would she be willing to face the facts? I procrastinated a few hours from the slippery task of easing the bad news to her, but the dirty job had to be done. Unpleasantness is what I am paid for. It wasn't enjoyable for me to tell Bernice that her boyfriend had split town and that it appeared that her expensive necklace was gone with him. Her reaction was predictable. She took it like a woman. And I decided it would be best to get off the phone and talk to her when she had cooled off a little. Bernice called the next day, not much calmer. She said she needed to speak to me in person. I told her to come by the office right away. It seemed she had another serious problem. Someone, it wasn't clear who, had sent her a note that afternoon, trying to blackmail her for $5,000, threatening to inform her jealous husband of her adultery. I wondered, would that slimy Emile be foolish enough to blackmail her about their affair? Possible, but I doubted if even he was that stupid. Perhaps someone in his hotel wanted to cash in on their affair. I'd been around long enough to know that the walls talk in this town. Checking out the lobby of the Hotel Hurley, I noticed a young hooker who must have been using the hotel as her base. She looked like she might be fairly new at the job. I decided to see if she could offer any interesting leads as to who might be blackmailing my client. She told me her name was Candy. Candy was smarter than she looked. After I filled her in about the blackmail situation, she had a likely suspect within seconds. She suggested that I investigate the desk clerk, a real nosy type who knew everything that went on in those rancid rooms. This hag was always complaining about her lack of funds, and Candy assured me that this lousy tyrant was not above blackmail. She was a greedy bitch who shook down all the respectable working girls for protection from the cops. It seemed like a hot lead. Maybe I could get some information out of her without her suspecting anything. As an excuse to chat with this suspect, I began to inquire about room rates. Then, perhaps, I thought I'd engage in some idle chatter to loosen her up. But this dame was not in a conversational mood. She flew off the handle. She was clearly psychotic, capable of anything. I decided it might be a good idea to enlist the observant young whore to help me nail that low-life blackmailing desk clerk. What we needed was some filthy, incriminating dirt to use as counter-blackmail. That would put the heat on this slimy, unscrupulous hag. Candy told me she would snoop around for any incriminating evidence. I told her she would be rewarded generously for her trouble. I left the hotel feeling jubilant. With a little help from Candy, I could soon have this blackmail case cracked. Maybe Bernice would reward me with a nice bonus for my fast work. As I had some time to kill, I spontaneously decided to catch a matinee. Little did I know it, but Candy had been put in overtime. While I was piddling around, wasting time, Candy had been out snooping and getting results. I wasn't expecting to find her in my office when I ambled in later that afternoon. She had been waiting there for over an hour. The lobby file cabinet at the Hotel Hurley had turned up the very kind of dirt we could use to shut up that low-life blackmailer. With evidence of numbers, slips, and payoffs, I'd have no trouble keeping that desk clerk quiet. She'd get a taste of her own medicine. This information was as good as cash in my pocket. I was very impressed with myself for finding this resourceful assistant. While I examined the goods, Candy leafed through one of those detective journals I keep around the office for reference purposes. I'd known that this gal was sharp, but it turned out that she was way too sharp for my own good. At first, she was merely annoyed that her article had pieces chopped out of it. It didn't take her long to realize that something funny was going on. Whoever had sent that blackmail note to Bernice had definitely used that very detective magazine to cut out the letters. What was it doing lying around my office? The situation was getting a little sticky. For me. It was no use playing dumb. Okay, so I did it. I, Mike Stalker, was attempting to blackmail my own client. It had seemed like a clever way to drum up more business for myself. Candy, however, was not amused. What the hell? Since when do hookers have such highly developed moral standards? I tried stalling. I swore to her that I hadn't stolen Bernice's pearl necklace, that only when I'd solved the case had it occurred to me that I needed more work from her. No matter how you looked at it, it was an ingenious idea. I couldn't believe that this goddamn slut was getting so upset by my double dealing. She insisted that I admit everything to Bernice and refund all her money. There was nothing I could do. I had to call Bernice to tell her I had to talk to her in person. She agreed to meet me at the Mission Rock. Of course, I had no intention of upsetting my carefully laid plans for the sake of a 2-peso whore. I sat right down to business and filled Bernice in on all the evidence I had uncovered on proving that the crooked desk clerk was blackmailing her. All was going well. She was, of course, believing all of it. When my worst nightmare came true, who should walk in but that ugly bookie? He grabbed me and demanded to know what was I doing there with his wife. Threatening us with his gun in his pocket, he prodded us like sheep out of the bar and out onto the lonely pier. He demanded answers, and quick, or else he threatened to shoot us then and there. We had to explain the reason for this furtive rendezvous, so Bernice admitted hiring me to find her missing necklace. The bookie exploded. She had lost his expensive gift. Not only that, he'd suspected for some time that she was cheating on him, but now he concluded that I was her lover. I hated the thought of getting shot for a crime I hadn't even had a chance to commit, so I gave it to him straight. Bernice had been fooling around all right, but not with me. Bernice's hysterics only confirmed the truth. He turned his gun to her. A shot rang out. A body lay next to me. To my surprise, it wasn't Bernice. The bookie had been shot. We were speechless. It was Emile. He'd arrived just in time to save Bernice from certain death. Boy, was she glad to see him. I almost felt like giving him a kiss myself, but since they were already pawing each other like animals, I grabbed the opportunity to shake down the corpse. First, I made sure that the son of a bitch was good and dead. I must say I was most surprised to find the very pearl necklace Bernice had hired me to track down. A job well done, I must say. Unfortunately, it didn't take long for that bookie's ugly sidekick to get in on the action, and I was forced to share the spoils. As I explained to Candy later, I had scared Loverboy out of town by sending him a written threat. Fortunately, he had gotten up enough nerve to come back when he did. Now that I had the jewels in hand, that fickle hooker was changing her tune. I figured I could get off to a fast start with the bucks I got from these jewels. We had to try several places to find an honest appraiser, but to my disappointment, the highest offer we got after hours of traipsing around and haggling was a piddling $20. That goddamn bookie had conned his wife in more ways than one. My only consolation was that now that he was dead, my old gambling debts were canceled. So what the hell? To the track we went. I had high hopes for this 20. With a hot tip and a little luck, I could turn this 20 into a nice bundle, and with my good influence, maybe this gal would stay off the streets. We were just in time to bet on the third race. The man had said that lucky number 7 was guaranteed to win in the third, but I didn't have time to check which horse it was. The odds were good, 60-1. I put my 20 on number 7. You could kiss it goodbye. Of all the lousy, broken-down nags in the world, I had to put my last 20 on Glue Boy. For Candy and me, well, I had the feeling that this was the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Here is danger transmission.